Joining me tonight in Rogers, Arkansas, host of the Hidden Killers podcast, Tony Brueski is back with us. Tony, you cover a lot of these stories, killers, right? Yeah. And I mean, have you come across the level of depravity, torture, and evil that we're hearing about in this case?
Unfortunately, the answer is yes to that, but this is one that certainly ranks up there, where it's just so hard to fathom. And there are very few words to describe the level of darkness that one must have within their soul to be able to bring this kind of trauma upon your own child. The word evil is thrown around quite a bit. I don't know a better word for it, but this is such malevolent behavior. It defies any sort of logic for those of us who are healthy, normal individuals who love our children.
Tony Brueski, do we know anything about this woman's background that would drive her to such behavior?
I think that's a very good question. I mean, that's what I think we all wonder. The first thing that would come to mind is I'm going to guess that there probably was a history of abuse there. I don't know for sure, but in order for someone to kind of have this recipe for how they decide to parent their child, one would have to assume that there's some level of abuse, some level of hating oneself to such an extreme that one would put this onto their own child. But that's the thing. There's not a whole lot really known about the background of this woman, as far as I'm aware. But without a doubt, I mean, I would say 99%, this is probably someone who had also been abused at some point in their life. And when you have that sort of recipe for a person, it oftentimes is repeated because it's all they know. Not an excuse for any sort of behavior like this whatsoever, but unfortunately, we do see the pattern over and over again. Yeah, completely.
Tony, I want you to take a listen to more testimony from Paul Ferguson here. Again, giving us insight into what's going on and what's going on in his mind, because remember, he is working for or with his mother in torturing Timothy. Let's watch.
You remember telling Detective Paisky, if I could take his place right now, if I could give him his life back, I'd do it. I'd do it in a dadgum heartbeat. Do you remember saying that?
I stand by it.
Yes, sir. You never intended your brother to die, did you?
No.
And you came to the conclusion that your mother intended it after, right? Not while he was alive.
Yes.
You thought your mother was a good mom, didn't you? You told Detective Paisky that, didn't you?
Yes, as well as the fact that I haven't had a diagnosis and I don't know how to explain it.
That's fine.
But I'd say it's something similar to Stockholm Syndrome.
Okay.
I'd have a desire to find a role model that, due to my own low self-esteem, I would do anything to make proud of me.
Tony, what are your thoughts about this relationship that Paul has with his mother?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is Norman Bates, but I do feel horrible for Paul. This is someone who has clearly been brought up in a vacuum of torture and a vacuum of trauma, and that's all he knows. When you have that as a recipe for your upbringing, it's not surprising that he would follow whatever mom wanted him to do. If he doesn't know any better, he doesn't know any better. Yes, he did get to be an adult, but mentally, I don't know that he's anywhere near the age that he technically, legally is. And when you have that sort of a situation, you have people that are going to go along with whatever they need to do to survive. He was also, I believe, very much in survival mode. Yes, he certainly did inflict these horrible, horrible things on his own brother. But at the same point, I don't know that you could expect a whole lot different when this is the woman who you call mom.
Tony Brueski, let's take a listen to more of those text messages the day before Timothy died.
Who was actually watching on the cameras while you were in the tub, while Timothy was in the tub and you were watching him?
Shanda?
And was she directing you what to do, both in text messages and through the camera?
Yes, sir.
And whose idea was it to warm up the pizza roll and hold it in front of him and then pull it away before he tries to eat it?
Shanda's.
if you can see this pretty good, but I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as People's 36 and it's page 5983 from that. Can you see that okay to read that top text message there?
Would you like me to read it?
Yep, go ahead.
Crazy idea. Ask Gabriel if he wants some pizza rolls and heat up a set of pizza rolls and take one and offer it to Timothy and see what he does. Put it right in front of his mouth, but be ready to yank it back if he tries to eat it.
Now that's her text to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you actually do that?
Yes, sir.
And she was watching on the camera?
Yes.
And were you worried about what would happen if you didn't do that because she directed you to do it?
Very much so.
Now let's fast forward to page 6002. And here's another text. Why don't you go ahead and read that one for the jury?
Oh, okay. Crazy thought. Tell him if he actually sits up by himself and stays sitting up, he will get some pizza rolls. Don't tell him it's only 2, and I'm okay if they are frozen rather than cooked.
And that's her message to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tony, starving to death, heating up pizza rolls, dangling it in front of him?
It's beyond what anyone would even do to a pet, to tease them or any. I mean, it's so depraved. There is such a level of hate that this woman has, clearly for her child, likely for herself as well, that she's able to go down such dark paths. And I think dark's even an applicable word for this. It is pure evil. And how they get there, how Paul does these things, it's survival for him. For the mom, I don't even know what word to describe what is going through her mind, trying to instruct her son to do these sort of things. And I'd be very curious to know why he is so fearful of the mom. What is she doing to him if he does not do her bidding for her?
Tony Brueski, host of the Hidden Killers podcast. In an hour and 13 minutes, folks, you can go on and download it and take a listen. Tony covers all these stories. Thanks so much. We'll see you all again really, really soon.